Real quick, I'm back again. This is King Harp. I was actually following a lot of support on YouTube. I don't care whether we argue or not, thought leaders, community. I know I am anchored definitely in ADOS. I'm an American descendant of slavery. We understand that Tariq Nasheed got a talk, got a channel, and it's Foundational Black Americans. Look, I understand the differences in the groups and how serious this is. I do see ADOS as a more political, standing, anchored conversation in terms of who the thought leaders are and what we're discussing. I see Tariq Nasheed as more of a awakening label of what needs to happen and that's coming together. I know he's not as necessary as thorough politically, in my opinion, as Yvette or Antonio in terms of getting legislation passed and in terms of understanding political language and having the political science education. We understand that, but yet we're still one people. And the grassroots is yet still needed among thought leaders and the political legislation. Without the grassroots, there would not be a serious voice. We know in politics, you have to come in numbers to even be one voice. It has to have a body. Now, because we need to come together, and that's the most thing that we've been on the sideline is because we have not chosen or employed ourselves to true unit. And that means that when you employ yourself to true unit, you understand that everybody needs to say the same thing or similar and have the same agenda. And what's been created in the main center of our agenda is to be repaired in legacy and in lineage reparations. We understand that. And anchored inside our society, which we have deposited in and been the beginning of. And we got a lot of controversy and people speaking in groups about it that should not be speaking. In terms of who we are in our legacy, in terms of our historical exchanges, which has gotten the country to its morality and its wealth. And we have been the apparatus of that. So as a descendant of slavery, you see, people don't want to really speak to what slavery is and was. It's a people that has been basically assigned to this society in such a way to produce a wealth, and it executed to the most greatest positioning in the global diaspora. And it became our back and our blood lineage, in our bones and bodies, our mindset, our family, the stories, the breathing and the eating that we do. We breathe and eat this environment in terms of what it is, and other people benefit in different ways. So put some respect on that. And this is what I think Tariq Nasheed was saying when he had a young lady by Garcia on his show, and they shared camera. Now this is important. Now I want you to know, because I actually watched that feed and I watched these videos, because all of this stuff is important. Every bit of it is political and it's important. And what we need to understand, what we do, me, my son, and my family, we sit here and we look at these things because it's valuable to us. Not to say we don't have functions and do other things, but we have to understand what's important to us. And we have to see the transparency of what people are doing inside other groups or inside what we're doing. Now, I want to say I'm not trying to make all of us perfect. I know that we're not. Like I said, much obliged to Antonio and Yvette Cornell. You guys have been the thought leaders in such a political way. You're into legislation. Congratulations in California. I'm very, very, very just proud of that, because I know that this is connected to who I am inside the nation. I have family in California. We have connection to this nation. I have family in Las Vegas. People went out there to settle before the city got even big. My great-grandmother died in Las Vegas. Her sister was in California. I mean, my family's in Mississippi, all over. We are the descendants of the United States historic exchanges. We're descendants of slaves. Do people know what that means and what slavery really was? Now we have Garcia on Tariq's show, Tariq Nasheed, that began to speak with him about who we were. And in the course of their conversation, you can now see what this person embodied in terms of intellect and what they represent, in terms of disrespect, in terms of going back and forth. You cannot change the fact of who we are. We have somehow been a people that stand. We haven't been a people that totally executed successfully, but we stand. And what I think Immigrants and also, that are in this country needs to have a respect for a people, for black people in the society that have stood in favor of policy that they benefit from largely. This is not about ego. This is not about, oh, you should respect me, you're my slave, or I tell you what to do, I'm a better brand. This is about a general common respect and a political language as adults should have. Because what happens is you getting to make a fool out yourself now that you are into someone else's ledger, and you don't really have all the understanding, you don't really have all the education, and you're running around here basically like a United States lab rat. You've been allowed to be in this space to do what you do. Politics shape you. So I would say to groups, as we stand and gain social capital as black people and descendants of slaves, before you respond, understand what you're responding to. You have no reason to oppose who we are or anything like that. This is something that you get as an iota. If you don't know what iota is, look it up. You have no reason to be in this position in terms of our argument. We are in litigation with our society in terms of business and politics. And for you to come in and try to be, I don't care if you Cardi B, mainly that's who I'm talking to. Shut up. You talking too much. You saying and doing too much. You imitating the language of black people, trying to act like half a black woman and then trying to oppress them in terms of you feeling that you look better probably because your skin is closer to white people or your hair is long and wavy and you get to do and all of these things, but you forget who walked in those legislation halls with those heels on and signed those documents. You tend to forget who is the descendants. We are the descendants of the people who fought for these laws. You tend to forget who stood in these Supreme Courts, in these state Supreme Courts when DACA was at your front door. You tend to forget who formed a human chain line to keep DACA and ICE from taking your cousins and your people out of their vehicles to send you back across the ocean and back anchored to your place of origin, to live in this wealthy nation off our backs and blood sacrifice. That is offensive. You tend to forget who lived in this country looking at their grandparents rocking chairs and talk about cotton fields and tobacco fields. You tend to forget who has lost their life in this country due to this apparatus, due to this wealth gain, hanging on trees, burned alive. You tend to forget who is the face of entertainment that you emulate, hip hop. You tend to forget that very quickly when you're being opposed, when you're being put on the spot in terms of what you say and how impartial you is to yourself and the demise of the people which support your idea of living. You tend to forget that. You tend to forget that our black grandmothers from Mississippi and other parts of the sector in the country behind Cottonfield, Sharecropping, Fannie Lou Hamer, Mary Jane McLeod Bethune, you tend to forget these are our blood kinfolk who stood to change laws inside this demographic, in this democratic environment. You tend to forget that. So this is what I'm saying I want you now to understand. And if you don't understand, if there's no people here that are in the other side, at least black folks, be careful to serve people. Be careful serving people that oppose your safety, that oppose your sacredcy, that oppose who you are and your growth and your development. Because we're not doing that right now. We don't have no time or no clearance to be doing that. We don't have the room or space because it's a detriment and a danger to us. These people are coming police officers. They're harming black people. They have a terrible rhetoric. This society is making mindless devils in terms of politics and groups. And we are waking up this situation for a very serious cause. Black Americans, foundational, ADOS, We need to understand how to pull more of our people to us and understand how to be careful following groups in the ideology of someone else's origin. Thank you for joining me.